Hi there, I'm Tom Martin. I'm a cinematographer and creative director of a video production agency called Forward. Recently, Wex and Sigma loaned me one of their new Sigma FP cameras. I had the camera in my hands to test for about 6 weeks, and during that time, I took it out on a shoot that we did for a university client where I paired it with an Area mirror and used it as a B camera for the shoot we were doing, which was to create some educational and training content. It's very small. The autofocus is very good in stills mode in particular. It's very sharp, it looks lovely. Another thing that's really great about this camera and another thing that makes it very versatile is that because the L mount has a very, very small flange distance, you can very easily adapt it, like a lot of mirrorless mounts, to a number of different lens types. Another thing that's really versatile about the camera there is that you can just pretty much adapt it to pretty much any lens that's in existence, whether it's vintage, new, cheap, very expensive cinema glass, and I think that's something that really should be kept in mind. The battery life, no two ways about it, isn't great for this camera, honestly. I had a single battery come with it, and one of the things that sort of surprised me when I was getting to grips with the camera, and something I did have to read the manual for, was the fact that it does only charge the battery inside the camera. So you have to plug the camera itself in via a USB-C cable, and that's how the camera sort of charges the battery. You can, to my understanding, buy an external battery charger, and I think the same with any camera, you'd want plenty of backup batteries really. You'd probably want 2 or 3 to last you a day, maybe even more than that. I didn't get a massive amount of runtime out of the batteries, to be honest with you, when I was shooting video in particular. What I'd really advise, if you are looking to rig this up and use it in a more cine sort of style of shooting, is just to get a battery eliminator and plug it into a much bigger battery like a V-Lock or something, and then you can power other camera accessories off of it, and you'll get loads and loads of battery life. I was very impressed when I colour graded the footage. Even the compressed UHD and 1080p footage sort of responded very well to colour grading. The UHD footage, I needed to pull a couple of secondary corrections on the footage to make it match the A camera, and it performed really well. Something that is really lacking in the camera is a log gamma. That would make colour grading even easier, I'm sure, especially if Sigma come up with their own sort of log to Rec 709 sort of transformation LUTs. So I did have much less flexibility than I was used to, sort of essentially grading already baked in Rec 709 footage, but even then it performed really well. When I was colour grading the RAW, that was obviously a completely different proposition. You have full RAW control, as you'd expect with Cinema DNG RAW files, and there's quite a lot of latitude for adjusting white balance and exposure and lowering or raising highlights or things like that. And in that way, it was incredibly impressive, and using Resolve, you can process the RAW footage in lots of different ways, using lots of different colour spaces. A big selling point of it is it's the world's smallest full-frame cinema camera. The other main selling point for me is the versatility of the camera. I really, really love the hybridity of it, and the fact that you have that Cine and Stills switch. For me, and the kind of work that I end up doing, I wasn't massively bothered by the lack of audio inputs. I tend to have a sound operator recording sound separately on almost all of the shoots that I work on. What would be nice, I think, would be if they included a way to run timecode into the camera very easily, possibly via the headphone input jack. I just did an old school sort of clap sync. If you have pretty fast, pretty high capacity new SD cards, you can shoot pretty much all of the compressed formats internally onto those, and you can also shoot the 8-bit compressed RAW onto those, I believe. If you want to take real advantage of all of the capabilities of the camera and shoot the full 12-bit 4K RAW, you will need an external SSD. I found in my testing that these worked flawlessly, that you just plug the SSD in via a USB-C cable, and the camera will ask you to format it, it's formatted. I had no problems with it, no drop frames, no nothing, and then basically just open it back up in Resolve. It worked flawlessly, and you have all the lovely RAW controls. A 1TB SSD is far, far cheaper than a comparably sized CFast card or something like that. So once you've got the camera rigged properly, I think you're off to the races, and you can very easily save a lot of money and record a lot of very nice 4K raw footage. Ultimately, I was really impressed with the camera. I thought it was really versatile. I was very impressed with the images, and I think with a couple of little tweaks and firmware additions, I think it'll be a really interesting and powerful camera. Definitely go and check out the Wex website, or go and have a play with one in one of their stores, because I think it's definitely worth having a try. Thanks very much, I hope you found that useful, and yeah, see you next time.